Good morning. Good Friday to you. I'm so happy that you're here, and I thank you for your patience with me. I'm so sorry about Wednesday. I was traveling this week, and my flights got all messed up. So I was actually at the Burbank airport at um, at 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, and so was unable to be with you. So I appreciate you being here, and hey, like, nice way to start the weekend, right? At least for me. Um, I hope you're doing well and that you've had a good week. Mine was a little bit crazy, but I'm really happy that the weekend is here. Um, and Here we are heading, into the holidays, and I feel like, oh my God, I have to put up my tree. Like, it's time's a wasting. So I think that will be my project for the weekend. That's what I'm thinking. Um, so what I want to talk to you about today is obviously a subject near and dear to my heart. What to look for in a VO coach, because I am one, and um, and and I know how hard it is to find a coach and to find one that really helps you um, on your path to work and building a career. And I see a lot of people who've been kind of burned by coaches, and who have been demoralized by coaches, and it always kind of breaks my heart. Um, oh, you know what? I might have to do this again. Did I? I'm going to look and see if I made it possible for you to. Oh, there you are. Oh, that's so interesting. They moved it to the other side of the screen. So I do see you now. Hello, John. Thank you. It's my little it's my winter sweater. Um, I'm just glad to know that you're there. I can't see your comments for some reason, where I usually see them. So uh, I'm gonna have to like take moments and sort of scroll and see what's happening. But um, anyway, as I said, it's a subject near and dear to my heart, and I want to be, I really want to give you good words of advice without, you know, being super critical of my colleagues as coaches. And I don't, I mean, I'm not a particularly critical, I'm a really critical of other people, um, but I find the whole coaching subject to be kind of a sensitive one. There are so many out there. It's so confusing. How do you find one? What do you look for? So that's the topic at hand. So let me let me start by saying that no one coach is the be all end all. It's just not the case. You're going to find, as you experiment and test the waters out there, that particular coaches are going to offer particular things to you. And that's as it should be, I think. So, at the heart of that is that you want to pick a coach who is a specialist. It's very rare that one coach teaches all genres of voiceover. Um, and beware those who say they do. It's just most of the coaches I know who I respect and would refer other people to, they have a specialty, and we are, as voice actors, generally speaking, we are specialists, and we ought to know. We ought to know what it is that we do well, and we ought to seek to refine what it is that we do well, so that we can kind of, move from being in the arena to being near the target, to being toward the center, to being in the bullseye, right? That's kind of what we're after. And specialist coaches help us to do that. They help us to refine, right? So A commercial coach may not be a great animation coach or a video game coach. They really do require different techniques and different approaches to their respective genres, right? So look for specialists, I would say. Um, Another super important piece of how you begin the search is is to know that many coaches offer complimentary consultations. Take them. Take advantage of that opportunity. It's a sign of a good coach that they offer a consultation, whether it's a 10-minute, a 15, a 20-minute. That's a good sign. You want to check them out. If you're on a Zoom call, you can get a vibe about a person. It's like, do you like them? Do you like how they speak to you? Are they respectful to you? Are they inquisitive and curious about you and who you are and what you're after? Um, do they make promises that are unrealistic and uh, without even knowing you, right? Make promises about what their coaching is going to do for you. These are all really important things to note, and really at the heart of that is, do you like them? Do you want to? Do you feel? I hate to use these words. I feel like they're sort of bandied about a lot, but do you feel safe in their presence? And by that I mean, are you free to be yourself? Are you free to learn? Because you really have to have a sense that you are free to learn and that you will not be shamed and you will not be made to feel badly for whatever place you are in your voiceover career. Because if you are a rank beginner, you know, you get to be a beginner. You get to not know things. That's the whole point of going to get training and coaching, right? So do you feel comfortable um, knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know, right? So consultations are super super helpful in that regard. And of course, coaches, everybody's on their best behavior in a first meeting. And, it's like a first date, right? But we can tell. We can tell. If we really it's important. Like if you come to it, like never approach a coach as if they're God, as if they know everything, as if they're better than you on a human scale, right? Like set aside the coach worship. Set aside well, they've been in the business for so long and they must know so much, and they have a particular reputation, and right? And who am I? What do I know? I don't know anything. Maybe those things are all true, right? But you're both human beings of equal value, right? So remember your value as a person. And every coach doesn't know everything, right? Um, do they have a sense of what they know and a really good sense of what they don't know? Um, that's really important too. So take the complimentary consultations. Come in with questions, right? What's their style? Are they drill sergeants? Some people like that type of coaching. Um, what do they expect of you? Do they expect nothing of you, right? They ought to expect something of you, right? Get to know what their cancellation policies are. Um, that's a really interesting one to me, because voiceover is a it's a crazy world. Sometimes we don't know when we're going to book. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have to cancel last minute because we got this thing or that thing, and you know, so find out how they work those kinds of things, and whether or not you can live within those parameters. For me, I don't have cancellation policies, and I don't because sometimes I have to cancel because I'm a working voice actor, and so why should I? um, why my life's not more important than yours. Sometimes you have things that you need for which you need to cancel, and sometimes it's that you have to pick your kid up from school because they're sick with a fever. Like I don't. And if you call me 2 minutes before or 5 minutes after, and you say, "Oh my God, I can't. I did this thing happen." It's like, all right, we'll move it to another day. Now, I don't make my primary living, as a coach. Some people do. And so you need to find out what their parameters are and whether or not you can live with them and abide by them. Agree to the working circumstance, right? Um, are they honest? Do you have a sense that they're telling you the truth, and that they will tell you the truth about how you are, what your progress is, how you're doing, right? And will they do so kindly and respectfully? Again, you know, we're human beings here, right? And you are there to learn from a coach. Um, but sometimes coaches can be unkind, cursory, unkind, quick to, and insensitive. I sound like all these coaches are so mean, but that isn't the case. There are just times, when they are, and certain people have certain styles, and those styles may work for one person and they may not work for you. And so that's really one of the great benefits of complementary consultations, because you really will get a sense and a vibe about how they teach, what they're like, and all of that, right? Um, I would stay away from demo mills for your coaching, places that sort of have packages, like take 10 classes and get a free demo. Um, uh, uh, particularly if you are just beginning. 10 classes isn't enough experience and coaching to make a demo. Demos are expensive, you know. They they ought to last you several years. Um, there's just no chance that after 10 sessions in a coaching school, that you're ready to make a demo. That's just not the case. Demo making is a really big industry, and that's another thing, to try to navigate as you move along your voiceover journey. But schools that promise demos after a certain number of classes are things that's a huge red flag to me. Like, stay away. That's what I would say about that. I think that it's a really interesting and good idea to explore memberships or schools, if you will. Um, but by schools, again, I don't mean schools that promise you a demo afterward. Um, I want to say schools like Gravy for the Brain, which is, they're out of Great Britain, but they have a variety of classes, of courses that you can take from beginner. You can explore, right? You can take a beginning commercial class, and you can take a beginning animation class, and you can do that, inside of the membership or school structure. But I would caution you to say that a lot of those types of schools are really great for exploration, right? To find out what you like and what's interesting to you. Um, so, right, I said Gravy for the Brain, Voice One out of San Francisco, Voice Tracks San Francisco. Um, those are schools, right? They're schools that offer a curriculum, right? And so what they're doing is they're kind of allowing you to be a generalist for a while, right? And get an understanding of all the different kinds of genres of voiceover. That can be a really good thing, because you can discover there, like, wow, I really like animation. I had no idea. I thought I was going to be a corporate narrator, or vice versa, right? Like, I thought I was good at animation, but I'm not very good at it. But what I am good at is um, explainer videos, right? And so you have an opportunity to explore there, right? Um, there are places like there are places like the VO Dojo, right, which is based out of the Los Angeles, I think Burbank area, which is kind of a collective. It's a voiceover collective, and they offer, you know, a variety of workshops and things like that, where you can do 1 day events and things like that. That again, I think is helpful. Um, and again, can give you a taste, right? Workshops are really good. I think they are good for once you've kind of gotten your sea legs, right? You've gotten your balance, and you've had a little bit of time in front of the microphone. You can still be a beginner, right? And have your sea legs, and start to take workshops that specialize in something, right? Um, but again, I want to caution you that schools are not the be all end all, because they tend to be generalists. And I think once you've made your way through some introductory classes, start looking for specialists. Um, I also think that in the beginning, stay away from one-on-one coaching. It's so important for you to have to have a sense of where you are, right? And to work with other people and see other voice actors and get a sense of what you're doing by listening to others, right? And seeing how they respond to copy, right? And then how you respond to copy in that same context, right? Is just so helpful. I'm gonna okay, good. Let's see. Okay, so I think everything's going well. I just thought I would check in to see, make sure I'm still online. But okay, good. Um, let's see. Yeah, so I think that private one-on-one coaching is something that you really want to reserve for when you are really pinpointing something, right? I find that kind of coaching for myself to be extraordinarily helpful. In if I did it with video games. I coached, when I was had been doing voiceover for 25 years, but hadn't done video games and animation. And so I connected with that after doing some auditions and kind of getting again, my sea legs, and realizing that, wow, I'm not really tuned into really the specifics of these genres. And so that's when I went to specific coaches, and they really helped me to, all the finer points, of a particular genre. So one-on-one coaching when you're first starting is it's expensive, and it isn't going to provide you with as much as you could get in a group setting, because listening to others is just so vital. Sometimes we just can't hear what a coach is saying to us specifically. Perhaps we're anxious and nervous, and people are watching us, and and yet we can hear and we can see when a coach is teaching someone else. And then a lot of times something will like ring a bell, and you go, oh, I see that now, I get that, right? So that's huge. So reserve private coaching for when you really want to get specific. um, uh, I would say, really stay away from places that have methods that imply that theirs is the only approach. There is no one approach, because you're an individual, and certain things will ring true to you, and will work for you, and other things won't. And so this idea that there's only one way to do something is erroneous. Um, you may, well, the hope is that you work with several coaches along the course of your career, right? Because each coach has something wonderful and unique to teach you, and take what works. You're building your own individualized toolkit, tool belt, right? So you take this from this person because that makes total sense to you and it works and it gets you results in the booth, right, with your auditions. Take this from that person. If you look at something and go, yeah, I don't even, that doesn't work, um, let it go. There's other stuff to be had, you know. So um, again, it's this idea that um, it's this idea that there's only one way, one method, you know, be all end all. Stay away from those, right? I want to say, make sure that fees are competitive. Um, I know that there's a pretty good range in there, right? Coaching is expensive, and I know that's a frustrating thing. But you know what? This is our this is our university, right? People spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a degree, right? Which isn't to say that you should be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get voiceover coaching, you know. Um, but just make sure they're competitive, you know. And you're going to have to ask around and look around, and that's again another piece of why it's really great to take advantage of consulting of complimentary consults to find out what their ranges are, right? And there are a million overpriced um, coaches out there. Um, and, you know, the market is what the market is. And some coaches are worth it. Some coaches are not, you know. But there is a general, you know, there's a general range that most good coaches, you know, kind of fall into, right? Um, but again, that's a little bit of your own due diligence in finding out what uh, what you can afford and what works. And but just make sure you're not overpaying, right? Um, and then, really, lastly, I want to say I want to just reiterate the importance of being in group classes, group workshops, especially if you're a beginner, especially if you're a beginner, because you really, really do gain so much perspective. It's super, super helpful. And also, you know, I talk about going to specialists, but obviously when you're just starting, it is actually good to take a general overview course, right? So you get the lay of the land of what it's like to do commercials. You get the lay of the land of what it's like to do animation, right? So those things are good. Generalized at first, workshops, and then once you begin to discover what it is that you want and that you're good at, you know, you start to narrow in and get really focused, and then that's kind of the time when you take one-on-one coaching. Um, oh, what was I going to say? Oh, there are some places that offer, um, you know, casting directors, right? That offer one night workshops in front of an agent or in front of a casting director. And again, once you have your sea legs and once you feel like you're comfortable in front of the microphone and your nervousness in front of the microphone is just sort of that normal, you know, performance jitters that we all get when we're up in front of someone and we're introducing ourselves in front of the microphone. Once you're in sort of that state of mind, those are fantastic places to see where you stand, you know, and to get direction from the real world, if you will, because these people are casting and agents are reviewing auditions every day, all the time. So they are so attuned to what works, right? And those kinds of classes are really great, you know. I'm going to refrain from talking about specific coaches, you know, but they're out there, right? Like they offer those fantastic workshops and they usually sell out really fast and, you know, all that. And they're just super, super helpful. So um, I'm just going to scroll and see if you have any questions here. Um, and then I will cut you loose for a good Friday. Thank you. Thank you again for the cute sweater comment. Hi, Randy. Tom Pinto. Tom Pinto is my very, very first voiceover coach. Oh my gosh, I could weep. Um, Megan, finding a great, yeah, Randy, finding a great coach is not easy. That is very true. Hi, John. Um, yes, and it can get very expensive to try to find the right coach, which is why you want to take advantage of consultations, right? Of complimentary consultations. Shanna, such a good point. Referrals, really, really good point. Who are your colleagues going to see, and do they like them, and it is it proving to be productive for them, right? um uh yeah, Kim, coaches are tools. It's true, it's very true. Like, they help us, and they help us build our own toolkit, right? um what is this? I also think a great coach works to make themselves redundant. Very true. Oh, such a good point, right? I know. I when I coach, and I coach a really specific thing, brand imaging for TV commercials. You know what? After 4 sessions, you're done with me. Like, time to move on. You know, I teach such a small thing. You could pay me to practice, but it's that's not a good use of your money, right? Uh, yes, we really ought to be redundant. And you want to come back in and check in to see if things are going well. Great. You want to book an audition coaching. Fantastic, right? That kind of stuff. But it's very true. A coaches ultimately want to give you the tools for you to teach yourself, right? And to take all those tools into the booth with you so that you can do it yourself. Absolutely true. Um, let's see, what else. Specificity, yes. Watching what others do behind the microphone is really interesting. Yeah, it's true. um, yes, Shanna, I don't know if it's Shanna or Shauna, sorry. Group classes are great for experienced people too, of course, of course, it's very true. And yet, and it's good to remind us, particularly because we live in such an isolated world. It's like to get out and be with people virtually or in person, right? Again, it helps us get our bearings. Um, Shauna, thank you. Perfect. That's fantastic. Really, really great observations, everybody. Really, really true. So I have talked longer than usual. That's how shocking. Um, so I wish you a fantastic Friday, and a great weekend as we all continue to move ourselves through the holiday season. And of course, if you ever have any questions for me, please um, ask away. I review these. I review the comments section of these as they come up over the days and weeks. You can always send me a direct message, and I'm sort of everywhere on social media. So ask where you may. I'm a little slow if you get me on Twitter, or if you send a message on Instagram. I go, oh look, I have messages. I forgot that's there. So Facebook is good, but I do check in. So again, thank you for your time, for listening. Thank you for your patience with me about Wednesday, and I will see you next Wednesday. And have a fantastic weekend. Take care, everybody. Ciao.